Alrighty, what's up, Parliament? Today we've got a good educational video for you. The big question is what is the right dose for you? Often we are getting a lot of questions like this, especially for new users, especially when we come back to, we're just starting to make some big inroads in Europe, and this question is coming up more and more. So the main thing is, what is the right dose for you, and how do you manage that? Because of course with cannabis, you are going to have tolerance issues. The more you smoke, the more that you need, the more that you need, the more you smoke. And it just continues like that. So it's really important to be able to pace yourself. And not only that, but also to, like if you're someone that needs to rely on this every single day, you're gonna have a very high tolerance. And then if you're somebody that doesn't use cannabis at all and you're first starting out, you don't really need that much at all. So let's just get into it specifically around edibles first, and then we will touch on flower and vape carts, which is a little bit different. So the first thing first is that edibles are often used by people who are just starting out because they think like, hey, I've never really tried cannabis before and these gummies look delicious. And then suddenly they take some of the gummies and they're like, oh my God, I'm so high. And so that's never really a good feeling when you've tried something new and it's overwhelming for you. So for all users, the simplest thing to do is to start anywhere from like 10 milligrams of Delta 8 and below, 10 milligrams of HHC. If you were to grab one of our like 50 milligram or 100 milligram gummies, you'd cut that up into 4 pieces and just sample a little bit of it to see how you feel. You should also write this information down in a journal and record how are you feeling, because really what we're all looking for is the optimum dose. There is some people that their main goal is to be functional, not to be high. And if that is the case with you, then for instance, like one of our nano capsules here, these are excellent for really dialing in your dose because it's 10 milligrams, you don't have any of the sugar, and it is very easy on the body because you also have that CBD in there, which is great for an anti-inflammatory. And very simply, you want to write down in a journal, hey, I took 10 milligrams today, how did I feel? I felt nothing, I felt too much. Tomorrow you up the dose, or you say, hey, this one was just about right. If you're taking something in the evening time, you want to really be recording how do you feel the next day. Did I feel groggy? Was I feeling dehydrated? With edibles specifically, you are going to want to drink a lot of water. Cannabis does dehydrate you, and so it's always important to make sure that you're drinking enough water. As you begin to develop, you're going to test out different products, and different products do different things. Just remember that for any of the cannabinoids to have a P at the end, so THCP, HHCP, these products are very, very potent, and they're going to last for a very, very, very long time. And so I would really avoid any of those if you are a new user. The second thing is, if you are somebody that is a very strong user, I would honestly lean back towards the ones with a P, because you need far less, and it lasts much longer, and it's going to somewhat invigorate your system. Now the thing is that at some point in time, you most likely will need a tolerance break, because your tolerance is going to be really, really high, and it's going to take longer for you to drop that tolerance. And so you can imagine that the how do I put it? The receptors in your brain eventually get clogged. And when they get clogged, you can throw as much THC as possible at it, but it's not actually getting through. And so in order to do that, you need to take a tolerance break, or you can use other products such as nano products. These will somewhat aid in making sure that the smaller particles get through. It also goes directly into the bloodstream versus going directly to your gut. And so, especially with edibles, it's going to last like a very long time. And if you want to think about edibles as really more body orientated, if you are looking for something that's more sativa-like, you should look for, or for the daytime, you should be looking for any of the cannabinoids with a V at the end. So THCV, CBDV, Delta 8 THCV, and make sure to make sure to recognize like what the use is. If you were taking a nano product with Delta 8, that's going to have more sativa-like effects because the way that it's processed is different. If you take Delta 8, which isn't nano, you're going to feel much more body. And so these are all very important things to consider when you're taking your first dose. But also recognize that this is going to be something that you're going to learn over time. Everybody's body is different. You're not going to have like one size fits all. And depending on your body size, it's like, I also like to look at it like a beer, right? I was just talking to my dad. He was asking me, first of all, is this stuff legal in Ireland? And I'm explaining, of course, that it is. And then he's saying, will this get people high? And I was like, Dad, would a beer get somebody drunk? And he was like, well, I don't know. I go, that's sort of the same thing here, right? So you need to also recognize, like, if someone is like 200 pounds, right, or 300 pounds, let's say, that's a serious amount of weight. You drinking a beer is going to do nothing for you. You might have a 6-pack and you'll be fine. Versus the person who's like, 150 pounds is going to drink a 6-pack. They're going to be on their ear. They're probably going to be feeling the buzz after the first one. So you really need to look at yourself and see what is the best one for you, and always start less. Less is more. You can never take less. You can always take more. So that's the edibles. So let's jump into the vape carts. Vape carts and the smokables is a little bit different. The one thing I like about the vape carts is you can just take the smallest puff. So if you're just starting out, you put your card on your vape pen, like so. And I would always read the packaging and make sure that you have it on the lowest setting starting off, because for a lot of people, they don't really want to smoke. If anything, they're choosing a vaporizer because it's going to hit them faster. It's the fastest absorption rate through the lungs. And the other thing is that they want the relief. It's not necessarily to get high. And so when it comes to like having loud clouds coming out, not many people really have that drive. More so, people want to have a calm, nice, relaxed tasting vape that is going to have really strong effects without, ideally, letting everybody in the room know that you're vaping. So the best way to do that is always by doing the lowest setting first. And all you need to do very simply is to just like take a couple of puffs, just as simple as this. What? And I'm not inhaling now because I got videos to make, right? And you saw how I was after the D9 THCP one. So a little puff like that, wait for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, see how you feel. The beauty about the vapes is you can really take as little as you want. And that way you're going to be able to know, okay, hey, I take a deep inhale at this, I feel X. I know for me, I take 2 or 3 puffs and that's it. I put it back in my pocket. And so there's much more flexibility with the vapes, and it also acts much faster, and it's far more discreet compared to something like smoking. When it comes to ranging in like how many milligrams is this, it's a lot more difficult to understand, because you can guesstimate, okay, this cartridge has 900 milligrams in it. If I take 300 puffs, that means each puff is 3 milligrams. But the absorption rate is actually higher compared to if you were to eat an edible. So it's a little bit more confusing. So just really trust yourself when you're taking one of these pens. Start on the lower settings before moving to the higher settings. Once you do so, you'll be able to see, hey, I really like this strain or this profile. Look at the test result. Check it out and see what is resonating most with you. And then know that that's the one that you want to purchase from here on out. When it comes to the flower is also very straightforward. The thing is for flower, often people are going to take they're going to smoke the whole thing. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that okay, they got to learn how to roll, or else they're going to be buying a pre-roll. And once they smoke it, they're probably going to smoke the whole thing. Even if they smoke half, they're going to be really high, especially if it's the first time. So for smoking is ideally just do a vape, because you can just take a couple of hits and see how you're feeling. People don't really like to smoke a joint and just spark it and take a hit off the top and then just sort of stub it out and keep it for later, because then you're smoking a stubby, and that's not really, that's not really helpful. So they're really the top 3 things. You got edibles, you got smoking, and you got vaporizers. When it comes to transdermal patches or creams or anything like that, you can be much more flexible. It's very rare for the creams to actually go through your body and to get you high. And the other one, I suppose, is tinctures. It's going to be the same thing with tinctures and edibles. It's going to be a similar type dose. The main thing you want to see is, are you consuming something that is nano? Because if it is, you don't really need as much, because more is getting absorbed through your system. And so remember, always take a look at the test result. Less is always more. And always try a vape pen at a lower temperature than a higher temperature. And do so in the safety of your home or with friends or family when you're first trying it out. And see how it goes. For a lot of people, cannabis is much better for you than the likes of alcohol. It's much more calming. It's much more socializing. And guess what? No one's ever died from it. So even if you do get a little bit too high, just drink a lot of water, drink some food, maybe you go to bed early. Simple as that. I hope you enjoyed the video.